Up until I started your program, all my sales were directs. I didn't have a team that was duplicating and helping me. And it just was like, whoa, this is how good it gets to be. Like, I didn't have to do all of that, and I still earned over $11,000.
Amazing.
And like, it was just like light bulb, you know, like
that's
now
just the start.
Like, okay,
yeah.
This is how it all starts. And now it's just going to compound and all that kind of stuff.
What's going on, everybody? I'm super pumped and excited to be doing a client success interview with Lauren, who's been absolutely crushing it. And she's going to share her journey and her story on how she had her first 10K month in December recently. And that was only within a few, like 5-6 months since she got started inside of my mentorship. So with that being said, I know you're excited, Lauren. I know you've been looking forward to this for a long time. It's so great that you're finally here sharing your experience and having an opportunity to share your journey and your story. So how you doing? How you feeling?
A little nervous.
That's all good.
Very good on video. It's not my favorite thing, but I'm here and I'm doing it. So I'm excited.
I think you're better than you think you are. You know, there's nothing to it except for doing it. And the more you do it, the better you get. And you've been making massive leaps and bounds in your business and multiple different skills, multiple different facets of the business. And so before we dive into that, let's rewind to a little bit of the beginning of the story, beginning of the journey, so people get to know you who are listening right now. So walk us back to what led you, what did you do before you got involved with your high ticket online business?
Well, I was actually a hairstylist for 3 years and then had a back injury that kind of like blew up my whole plan.
Got it.
So after that, I went back to school, ended up going to business administration. Really, like, I'm really into like spreadsheets and stuff. So administration was like my jam. I love being organized and all that. And so I started looking for different jobs, never found anything that I really liked, and was just kind of like every couple of years moving from one job to the next, and ended up at a position for my new municipality working at the rec complex, which I really enjoyed the work, but it was just like nothing felt aligned for me. I was always kind of going back to like, well, I just want to do hair. I never found anything else that was like I was really passionate about that felt the same way as that. So I was like, okay, well, I need to add a little bit of that into my life. Otherwise, I'm going to go crazy. I can't stand working for other people and having people tell me what to do. So I kind of pushed through the pain and did that, and was working 6 days a week between those two jobs. And I was just kind of getting to the point where I was like, okay, like I've tried everything. I can't think of anything else to do. I don't want to go back to school for 2 to 4 years and end up in the same place that I am now, basically. So every day I would just stare at the clock and ask myself those same questions. Like, is it truly worth spending the majority of my life doing something I don't feel aligned with just for a pension? Or like, what if I don't make it to retirement? What if by the time I do retire, I'm not healthy enough to do all the things that I want to do? Or like, am I wanting to trade my time for money? All that kind of stuff, you know? And it was like, I just got so sick of asking for permission to live the life the way I wanted. And I knew I had to do something else. And one day I was like literally just scrolling on Facebook, like majority of the people that started this business. And I saw my friend Allie's post about working at home with her dogs. And I was like, oh, my dream of being a stay-at-home cat mom could come true. And then, so I messaged her and learned about it. And that was kind of the beginning of the rest of my life, I guess.
Yeah, that's so amazing. And a lot of the things you touched on are so relatable. And I feel like so many people suppress those feelings and thoughts, and they basically tell themselves like, to suck it up and like this is the norm and everybody has to do that, and everybody, even sometimes I'll overhear people at like a store if I'm getting a coffee or I'm at the mall getting something or whatever, and I'll just randomly be near people that are working in those jobs and listening to their conversations with each other, and it's so mundane, like, oh, it's almost time for your break. It's like, oh, I just got back from my break. And then it's like, and then you'll say like, how are you? And they'll be like, well, it's Friday. It's like best day ever. And like all these, these little tiny like comments. And I just pick up on them, and I'm always just like, or they'll say to me, I'll go get like lunch or coffee or something like kind of middle of the day. And then they'll be like, oh, like, I can't even think of how they say it, but they'll be like, oh, so are you done for the day kind of thing? Like, you know, and I'll be like,
they just assume that you're working part-time or something.
Yeah. And I'm like, uh-huh. Like, it's so hard for me to reply because if I gave them like a true answer, they would be like so unrelatable. But what you're sharing around making those changes, having those thoughts and fears are really, really powerful. And I think that the difference between what you just shared and the majority of people is that you had that optimistic outlook of having an open mind and having that, like, let me look into this. Let me ask some questions. Let me message this person who showed me this ad or this video or whatever it was. And let me inquire. There's this level of like curiosity that you had. And if you have that, then you can look into stuff. But a lot of people will jump to conclusions, or they'll be like, oh, that's a scam or something negative, and just not even ask. And I find that really interesting. But you did, and now you're here, which is so cool. So I'm super proud of you. So you got started in your business, and you had a little bit of, I guess, transferable skills from being in a service-based, hairdresser, and then also business administration. So you had some people skills and stuff, I'm sure, that helped you. Yeah. But what did you run into initially when you first started your online business that you found to be the most difficult or challenging for you specifically? What was that like? Like, did you find it hard in any particular way, or did you kind of get off to a good start and everything clicked and it made sense for you?
I feel like I'm the type of person where if you kind of give me the steps, I'm really good at following them. I can, it doesn't take me a lot to learn something and implement it and I'm used to succeeding in most things that I put my mind to. So I think the hard thing for me was that if I learned something that didn't work the way that I was told it was going to work, I would be so hard on myself. I'm like, why can't I do this? Why can't I figure it out? Like, it's so simple. Like, why isn't it working for me? Right. And then I think it got to the point where I realized that just like, and I think it was on one of the calls that we had actually, where you had said something about just because it works for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You have to do it in a way that feels right for you. So like, this is a guide. It's not the be all end all. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, so maybe I can tweak this a little bit to work for me. And then sure enough, I'd overcome that obstacle, and then I would try it again and whatever. And it's like, and it's all about testing. And I think I was just so used to not having to try it that hard and kind of getting in my own way too much. And then eventually it's just kind of, I learned to accept that it's like, it's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be like, this is new to me. It's something I've never done before. I have to be patient. And honestly, patience is what has allowed me to get here, I think, because I used to not be patient. Well,
that's a big type of growth for sure. Yeah. And you touched on something that is so important for people that are listening to this conversation right now. And the thing is about how you'll see a lot of successful people that have broken through and they're making money, or they're progressing or rank advancing or whatever we look at as like a milestone, right? And everybody shares these different things. They're like, oh, I did it dancing on TikTok videos and I made all this money. And then you're sitting there going like, I cannot dance at all. Or the other person's like, I'm doing everything with these really advanced advertising strategies or something. And you're like, yep, I don't even know how to log into my personal Facebook very good, like, so there's all these disconnects. And I think what is so important that when people say they get overwhelmed or they get stuck or it's hard or there's so many ways of doing it, is that it's all examples. Really, all it should be showing you is that there's so many ways that you can do it, right? Rather than getting upset that you can't do this or you can't do that. It's like, well, these are all potential ways I could do it. These are all ideas, but what is the one that I get excited about that matches my strengths? And you've done a great job of figuring that out and tweaking it, which is so powerful. And then the other thing that you touched on is patience. And I think that we look at our journeys in business, especially, as this thing we want to rush and get to so fast. And ultimately, the growth and the evolution of getting better than who we are when we start and how we see the world and our perception is really what we should focus on. And then everything else starts to click and come forward. So you've done a great job of that as well. So you got started in your business. And then how long were you building it before you decided that you were looking for mentorship or you wanted some additional coaching and wanted to accelerate those results that you were having?
Well, honestly, I'll give you a bit of a backstory here because a lot happened in the first couple of years of building my business. And I started with the platform right away. I was kind of doing the training, all that kind of stuff. Went from one platform to the other because one closed, another closed, and whatever. And then I learned a lot of good things from each one, but I got to the point at about 1.5 years after starting my business where the world literally shut down. Obviously, we all know that, but that caused a lot of problems for me in particular because I had built my entire business around travel. And then when that was no longer a thing and cities were locking down, flights were canceled, and like all the rest of it, I found myself in a position where I was like, crap, now what do I do? So like I had already quit my job and now I was starting to like panic about money. And I was like, if I'm already stressing about money, I can't imagine the people who are losing their jobs, like, are they even going to be able to invest? So I stopped running ads, started saving all my money just in case. And then that kind of blocked me from everything. And my mindset was the shits. And, just the way I was showing up felt really out of alignment. And I was trying to mimic all these other people that were doing things in a way that was still successful for them. And then I got to a point where I felt so lost that I was trying so hard to figure it all out on my own and was like, okay, this is like not going to work out. So that was kind of like where I was like, something's got to give, but I don't know what I need. And there was this 90-day mastermind that I was part of for the Freedom Era. And I was like, it was the kind of thing where if you don't do the task for the week, you're going to be kicked out. So I was like, no hell am I going to be kicked out of this. I'm going to work my ass off, I'm going to grind and whatever. And then I got to the point at the end where I was like, I had success. I had a 5K month. I hit my goal of 4A. I was super pumped. I had 4 new team members ready to join my business, but I was so burnt out. And I was like, oh my God, like how am I going to show up for them if I can't show up for myself, And it was like, that was kind of the turning point. I said to my husband, I have to take a week off. I'm so burnt out and I need a break. I don't know what to do. And then sure enough, one of your emails comes through and there's a masterclass. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let's watch it. Like, we'll just like chill out, relax and watch. And I was like, I got a lot of value, obviously. And then at the end, you were inviting people into the program. And I was like, wait a minute, maybe this is what I need. And I looked at my husband and was like, he's like, keep watching, it's not done yet. And then you made a comment about the investment. And I was like, that doesn't seem right. That seems way lower than I ever would have thought it would be. And at that point, I was kind of thought in my head, okay, like maybe this is something I could do. And then I like had to go to the landing page to like confirm that the price you said was legit. And then I was like, oh my God. And he looks at me, he's like, do it. And I was like, really? He's like, buy it. And I was so like, it was like everything in my head just clicked. I entered my email address wrong. That's how excited I was. I had to email support and ask for them to fix it so that I could actually get in and access what I just purchased.
That's so funny. And you're like, they're not sending me anything.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, just like panicking. But I was like, it literally in like that couple minutes of like finishing watching that whatever hour of training that I felt like made total sense, because everything that you teach, whether it's free or in the mentorship, I honestly, like, I think our brains work the same. Like just the way you say it makes sense to me. So it all kind of happened so fast. And then when I got in there, I was like, this is what I need. Like I think maybe like 95% of the puzzle pieces, but even if I had all of them, I didn't know how to put them all together properly. And it was just like, I felt like I was in the right place. And I knew from there, I was like, okay, I've got everything I need now to just like put the pieces together and go. And then 6 months later, I'm on this call with you.
Yeah, it's so amazing.
Like,
And
long story, but
no, I'm
kind of
so
all
happy.
comes full circle, you know?
No, I'm so happy that you jumped in to share that, because it really made it clear how it all happened. And I think that a lot of people who are listening to this right now can relate to that again, because there's this level of like, okay, so here's where I'm at. This is what I'm doing, but it's also not sustainable, which we never think about. It's like sometimes we have a goal or a target we want to accomplish financially, or maybe it's a rank advancement or something, and we put everything we can to it, thinking that all of a sudden when we achieve it, it's like, but then what? Then you have to keep going, and then it continues, and then it grows. And unless you make those adjustments, it really does start to feel like an obligation that you're not enjoying your life. You're not enjoying your business. You're not enjoying the steps. And then what's the point? Because the whole point of getting started in the first place was that you enjoy your life more. So then there's this whole inner conflict, and that starts to show up in your content, and everything starts to downward spiral. So the fact that you made that adjustment, and it's really cool. I didn't even actually know some of that story where you were taking like a 1 week off, and that's when the masterclass happened, which is so perfect. So, and I'm glad that your husband is supportive as well. And he's cheering you on and encouraging you. And I love to hear that. That's amazing. And occasionally he'll send me a message as well on Instagram and stuff, being like, yeah. And I'm like, I love that. So that's amazing.
Yeah. He was actually one of the 4 people who joined me in June. So we've been working together for the last 6 months, which has really made like a huge difference too. Like just having that, I mean, he was always been supportive. Like remember at the very beginning when he's like, whatever you want to do, I'll support you. And I was like, okay, well, this is my loan. This is me doing my business. I'm going to show up. And if like, I'll work my ass off. And if I don't like it, I'll work my ass off till I pay off my investment at least. And then at that point I can decide if it's for me or not. But then I thought to myself, okay, well, if I work my butt off and I make back my investment, then obviously something's working.
Then you're doing the right things, right?
And then it all kind of worked out really well. So having him now being a part of it has been even better, because now we can kind of share in different ways and attract more people as like a couple instead of just individual.
Yeah, that's really big for sure. And once you continue that evolution, just like in a regular marriage relationship, there's roles and responsibilities of how you work well as a team. In business, there is too. And so I don't know exactly what your dynamic is in the business just yet, but one of the things that I've noticed that is so helpful is to really double down on, for example, like just off the top of my head, one person's getting really good at like copywriting and the other person's getting really good at video editing, as an example. And you're not learning the exact same skills. You're actually learning complementary skills, and then you put them together. And that way it's like 2 heads or 2 minds as opposed to one doing the same stuff. So I'm sure you guys are doing something similar like that, but that is so powerful in terms of like power couple dynamics, etc. Okay, so you got started, you got in, you finally corrected your email address, so you got the login. What happened next? So what was your initial impression? You know, I always tell people, and I'm sure you've heard me say this many times, but I always have a goal to get people their ROI on their first live coaching call. And in some cases, that's watching replays, which is like even better. But walk me through that process of, okay, you're in now, you're on these calls. And when did you feel like you made a good decision? When did you feel like it was worth your investment? And when did you feel like it was all like clicking and coming together for you after you got inside the Diamond Life Mentorship?
Honestly, as soon as I got in and did like the self-assessment and the goal setting and all that, and then started module 1, like maximizing your time and like the Google Calendar stuff, like I didn't realize how unorganized I really was until I did that. And I think that was like a huge turning point for me. Like once I realized that I could delegate some things or get rid of some things altogether, like it opened up so much of my time that I didn't realize I had. Like I used to say to my husband all the time, like, I'm too busy. I don't have time. I can't do that. And like, I really wasn't. Like my problem was that I just wasn't managing my time effectively. And then that first call that we had, I got to ask a question, and like, I kind of explained the whole situation of having the like 4 new members and whatever. And like that I was overwhelmed and I felt like I was just grinding for way too many hours a day and never actually getting anywhere because I just like didn't know what to work on next. And then you gave me a couple pointers, and like I literally, like, as soon as the call was over, I shut it off and like started like writing notes and like doing all the things. And after that, it was just like everything felt so easy. I actually had a morning routine that I could show up for every day and commit to. And like I was feeling way better. My anxiety was gone. I no longer had any more guilt for taking time away from my computer or my phone. Like I used to get anxious going for groceries because I was like, 2 hours that I could be doing something else, you know? And like we moved abroad. The whole point was to be able to live a life of travel and adventure and enjoying where we are in the moment. And I hadn't created that. And I think just having the ability to, like, in terms of like the difference between other programs I had done, it was like, here's all the training, this is what you're learning, implement it. But yours is so different because it's constantly upgraded or like changed all the time. New things are added all the time. The calls every 2 weeks, like I'm constantly learning things that I didn't even realize were problems that I was having because of the way that other people are asking the questions and the way that you're responding and all that. And having that ongoing mentorship has like really got me through, because there have been times where I'd like get super down and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, like it's been 3 months now and like, how am I going to get out of this rut? And then, but with your calls, like every 2 weeks, I know that as soon as I watch that, and I'm going to be like pumped up again. And so like, there's really never going to be that long downturn anymore because I'm always picked up as soon as that starts to happen, if it's going to happen. Right. So like, I don't know if I answered your question, but I just love it.
No, you did. And I think that one of the areas I want you to talk about a little bit more is how you have implemented the program, because I think you mentioned on one of our previous calls recently that you're like going through it again and you're starting it from the beginning and you're getting a refresh, same way as if you reread a book or rewatch a movie that you thought was really awesome and you almost learn things that were like, was that in the movie the first time I watched it? Or was this a part of the book? And it's like the same book, but you're not the same. You've grown and you're different. Yeah. So talk a little bit about the implementation of yourself to the mentorship, to the coaching calls, because I remember how many questions you've asked. I remember how many times you've come out, and then not only that, but then you went back and you implemented it. And then a couple of weeks later, you're like, I did that, and this is the results that I got. And now I'm here and I need help with this, which, coming from like the mentor side of the conversation, is something that we don't get enough of, which is really unfortunate. Is like, we have a program we put in place, we know it's effective, we have all these results with other people and clients and students and so forth, but then people don't show up for themselves, which is like only the equation they can control. We can't control that as like a company and a mentorship. So I want you to give more insight on what did you do specifically to ensure that you showed up for yourself through the program and stayed consistent with it.
Lists, calendars. But I mean, I've always kind of prided myself on being a hard worker and doing a good job. And I've always done it for other people. So I think in my mind, it was just kind of like, if my reason for getting into this business is to create the life that I want, then I have to show up for myself to make that happen. No one else is going to do that for me. So I created those, like Google Calendar. I schedule myself. There's times where it's like me time, no one else. And that gets in there first. If I'm going to do like my morning routine, or if I'm going to do my business, those things happen first. And then I schedule time with my husband or my friends and everything too. And then with the training, it was just like, it's a non-negotiable. I'm going to, like, if there's a call, I want to be there, because I don't want to, it's not the same showing up to a replay as it is live. You don't get that same experience. And I just decided that I was going to commit, and I've gone through the training. There was a few things the first time around that I kind of held myself back from. I'm not going to lie. I did not want to implement any of the systems for my team, because I was like, then that's like on me, and I have to show up as a leader, and I'm like, I'm not confident enough. Like, I don't have a big enough team. Are they even going to show up? All this stuff. So I kind of put that off. And then the second time around, I put it in place. And honestly, like, that has been such a huge piece to everything that just happened in December as well, because I had a really hard month personally. And if those systems weren't in place and I hadn't been showing up and sharing those resources and all that stuff with my team, they may not have duplicated and helped me out when I wasn't able to show up for myself and my team the way that I normally do. And that really was eye-opening and made me realize, like, because up until I started your program, all my sales were directs. I didn't have a team that was duplicating and helping me. And it just was like, whoa, this is how good it gets to be. Like, I didn't have to do all of that, and I still earned over $11,000.
Amazing.
And like, it was just like light bulb, like,
that's
now
just the start.
Like, okay, this is how it all starts. And now it's just going to compound and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
That's amazing. And you've grown so much in so many ways. And by the way, remember at the beginning of this call when you said you're not good on video? You're so awesome on video. You need to get on video more. Seriously. I'm impressed. So and I like the confidence, because you keep kind of stopping me and saying, actually, Balazs, I'm going to say it like this. And like, actually, Balazs, I'm going to tell you the story, which I actually love. So don't stop doing that. That's amazing. But the one thing I wanted to touch on that was a very powerful point, and sometimes the way you say it so nonchalantly, it can go over people's heads. So I want to highlight this real fast, is you said that you've always prided yourself on being a hard worker and showing up and doing a good job for others. And then when it came time for you, and it's like your dream and your life, you did it as well. But why do you think so many people don't?
Honestly, I mean, I think I know, because it took me about 10 years to really like make that decision that I was like capable of doing it. And I think a lot of times people hold themselves back because they're scared of the unknown. They're like, oh, well, like, what if I do this and then this happens and all these things come up and I can't overcome it and whatever. And it's just like, you just have to decide. Like, I was miserable. Like, I was having panic attacks at the very end there. I was like, I hated my life so much. And I was like, something has to give. And I've tried everything. I don't know what else to do. And it was like, you either like, if not this, then what else, and you can't just keep living your life on repeat and doing the same old shit every day and expect different results. So I don't know. It's
powerful.
I got so sick of my own shit that I was literally sick of myself. I was like, what the hell's wrong with you? Go do something about it.
You can do more.
Just have to get to that point where they're like, they obviously don't want it enough if they haven't done it yet. That's kind of my thought.
No, it's a really powerful point, but I find it very interesting that sometimes people that are self-sacrificing for other people in their lives, sometimes it's their job, sometimes it's their spouse, sometimes it's their children, sometimes it's their who knows what. But all of a sudden, when it's time to like put themselves first, they have this weird block. Like, I don't know why. I think in society, there's been a lot of, I I don't even know how you'd say it, but there's been this thing of like, if you want something for you, it's bad. Like
Mhm.
you're selfish, or how
Mhm.
dare you want to like go work out, or how dare you want to start your own business because you're supposed to be all things to everyone else, especially women. Often is the case with the motherhood and the wife role and supportive role and stuff like that. So the fact that you've recognized that, you owned it, and then you're like, well, I've done such a great job for other people my whole life. Why don't I do as good of a job, if not even better of a job for me and what I want, is massive. And you wouldn't be here right now had you not had that epiphany moment and that transformation and breakthrough. So amazing. So awesome. So let's talk about it. So you had 6 months in the program, which is actually really amazing. You showed up to every single call, as far as I'm aware. You always participated. You took action. You've implemented the things in the training, and that's how you got the results. And funny enough, how long was it before you went through the program the second time? Was it like 12 weeks and then you restarted? So you were on the end
I
of the
think
second time?
no, there was a bit of a gap between, I started looking through it again at the end of October. Um, we had some travel plans and my husband went back to Canada for a little while, and I had a bit of time that I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna like spend this time going through all that, picking up the pieces that I haven't done yet. And like a couple of others that are in the program, we started a little like group where we chat on Telegram and have a call like on the opposite week of your calls. So we're always kind of helping each other. And that was just kind of my time to focus on all of that and really like hone in on what I hadn't done already. And I started running ads again, like once I started the program. So I was like, I've automated so much more of my business. I'm so much more organized now. And like, it's just honestly, like, I can say with absolute confidence that the way that my business is now and the way that my life is, the work-life balance I have, is because of everything that was in your program.
Amazing. Living the diamond life for reals. And I think 2023, you're going to have another massive bunch of breakthroughs going into, $1,000 days, which I am a huge believer is that once you unlock this shift in your self-worth and your income and your belief around how much you can make and stuff, there's that whole thing like subconsciously of $1,000 every 24 hours, that 4 digits. And so you have a $30,000 month and it just shifts everything. The first time I heard someone, I'm sure this with you, I'm sure, and everybody in the accelerator is like, when I was young, 15 years ago, roughly, someone who was making good money in sales and door to door told me that $250,000 a year takes the pressure off. And at the time, I was like, $250,000 a year and I'm fucking rich. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh my God, that's so much money. It's like almost 10 times as much as my family made in a year. Like, wow. And he's like, nah, it just takes the pressure off where you finally stop looking at like your bills or like when you go shopping for some clothes, you're not sitting there like checking price tags. You're like, I just want these jeans. And I know they're not going to be like $10,000 jeans. So I'm not going to look at the price tag and just buy them. Depending on where you shop, that is. Be careful. But the point is like, there's this whole thing of like takes the pressure off, and it shifted everything for me. I was like, I wonder what life would be like if the pressure was just off. And so then I went and had a $250,000 a year in that opportunity. And that was like right before I left into my business. And I was like, wow, it did take the pressure off, but I wasn't feeling like I made it or I'm rich or anything like that. I was just like, it's that $30,000 a month range. And that's what's coming for you this year. I'm confident in that. But before I get carried away and we start talking about $1,000 days, what I wanted you to share is your life now. So you have work-life balance, which you just mentioned. You're living the diamond life, which is only going to get better. You implemented systems in December, which actually helped you in one of your tougher personal months, but your business continued to thrive and you had your best income month ever. So all of that is amazing. So to the people that are listening right now and watching who are relating to your story, what do you have to say to somebody who wants to really make sure that they have guidance, mentorship, and support to achieve their goals in 2023 and beyond, but maybe they're unsure, maybe they're scared of the economy or the recession or they're pinching pennies or whatever the case might be? What do you have to say to them about what the investment is for the accelerator and how much value they can receive if they just took action and did it?
Just do it.
Nike.
It is. No, it's seriously like, I know that everything that's changed for me since June is because of what I have learned and implemented in your program. And if you're somebody who can take direction and wants to be surrounded by people who are going to pump you up and like celebrate you more than you celebrate yourself, this is where you should do it. Because I've like, yeah, it's just, it's amazing. I like
appreciate that.
Really wouldn't be where I am without it. And I don't think that there's any reason why someone would think that it's not worth it, because as soon as they get in there, they're going to see the value. And like, I'm pretty sure I got my full investment out of the first module with that Google Calendar, because that made such a huge difference. And like, it's such a simple concept, but without the foundation, you can't build on top of that, you know?
That's why we start where we start, which is so powerful. So I'm proud of you. I know you're going to take this and go even further. You're super coachable. Your confidence is going through the roof. I really hope that you keep showing up on video, especially because I know you're self-conscious about it, but you're doing amazing.
Thanks.
And this turned out way better than I thought, because you kind of said like you aren't very good. So I was like, maybe this is going to suck, but it didn't suck. It was amazing. So awesome job. And for those of you watching right now, whether it's live or the replay, just so you guys know, we recently did close the doors on the accelerator, and recently we've opened them back up for a few spots. So if you're someone who's looking to get in, you can book a free call, see if you're a good fit. There'll be a link above this video in the caption. And I can't wait to see you on the next coaching call. Make sure you fill out the questions, and we'll start chipping away at your $1,000 days here, Lauren. I'm proud of you. Continue crushing it and living the diamond life. And thanks for coming out here and delivering an epic client success interview.
Thanks. Appreciate you having me on.
Have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Yeah.